The radio crackles with static and desperation. "Base, this is Ranger 26. We are pinned down. Repeat, we are pinned down on the North Ridge with 4 critical casualties." Staff Sergeant Ryan Cole's voice cuts through the howling wind like broken glass. His hands are shaking, not from the cold, from what he's about to say next. "Our medic is gone, buried in the avalanche. Frost is KIA. We need immediate dust-off, but we have no LZ, no cover, and the enemy is closing in from 3 sides." The transmission ends in a burst of gunfire and screaming wind. 48 hours earlier, none of this seemed possible. The fluorescent lights in the briefing room at Fort Richardson cast harsh shadows across the faces of 12 Army Rangers. Outside, the Alaskan winter presses against the windows like a living thing. It's November 2018, and the temperature hasn't climbed above 0 in 2 weeks. Staff Sergeant Ryan Cole stands at the front of the room, 42 years old, with 20 years of service etched into every line of his weathered face. He's seen combat in places most Americans can't find on a map: Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria. He's earned his authority the hard way, and every man in this room knows it. Every man except one person. Petty Officer First Class Emma Frost sits in the back row, barely visible behind the broad shoulders of the Rangers in front of her. She's 28 years old, 5'4", and weighs maybe 115 pounds soaking wet. Her uniform is crisp, her blonde hair pulled back in a regulation bun, and her face carries an expression that could be mistaken for serenity if you didn't look closely at her eyes. Her eyes are Arctic blue, the color of glacial ice. Cole clicks to the next slide. A satellite image of the Brooks Range fills the screen. Hundreds of miles of jagged peaks and frozen valleys stretching toward the Canadian border. "Mission brief is simple," Cole says, his voice carrying the flat authority of a man who's done this 1,000 times. 3 civilian aid workers taken hostage by a militia group operating out of an old mining compound in the Brooks Range. Intel says the hostages are alive, but won't be for long. Weather window opens tomorrow at 0600 and closes in 48 hours. After that, a blizzard moves in that'll shut down the entire region for a week, maybe 2. He clicks again. The compound appears, a cluster of buildings clinging to the side of a mountain like a tumor. Insertion by helicopter at dusk. We move on foot through Devil's Spine Ridge, hit the compound at dawn, extract the hostages, and get out before the weather turns. Questions? A hand goes up. Sergeant Daniel Hayes, 38, built like a tank and twice as subtle. "Sir, Devil's Spine? That's avalanche country. One wrong step and the whole ridge comes down." "Noted," Cole says. "That's why we're bringing a medic." Every head in the room turns to look at Emma. She doesn't flinch, doesn't smile, just meets their stares with those ice blue eyes and waits. Corporal Marcus Diaz, 31, Latino, the team's unofficial morale officer, mutters just loud enough for everyone to hear. "Great, the weakest link gets to patch us up when the mountain tries to kill us." Someone laughs. Not Emma. Cole ignores it. "Frost, you'll carry standard combat medical load plus cold weather trauma supplies. Stay with the rear element with Private Wright. If we take casualties, you move forward on my command. Clear?" "Clear, Sergeant," Emma says. Her voice is quiet, almost gentle, the kind of voice that gets mistaken for weakness. The briefing continues. Routes, rally points, communications protocols, emergency extraction procedures. Emma takes notes in a small green notebook, her handwriting precise and unhurried. When it's over, the Rangers file out in clusters, talking tactics and checking gear. Emma is the last to leave. Cole stops her at the door. "Frost." She turns. "Sergeant?" He studies her for a moment, this small woman with the calm eyes and the too quiet voice. He's read her file, barely scraped through Ranger selection, slowest ruck march times in her class, no combat deployments. She requested assignment to the 75th Ranger Regiment Medical Detachment, and because the Army needs medics and Congress needs diversity statistics, here she is. "This isn't a training exercise," he says. "Men might die out there. If things go sideways, I need to know you can handle it." Emma meets his gaze without blinking. "I can handle it, Sergeant." He wants to believe her. He really does. But 20 years of experience have taught him that wanting something doesn't make it true. "See that you do," he says, and walks away. Emma stands alone in the empty briefing room for a moment, then opens her notebook to a blank page. At the top, she writes a single sentence in careful letters. They always underestimate me. Good. The memory comes without warning, the way memories of the dead always do. Emma is 12 years old, standing in 3 feet of snow outside a cabin in Fairbanks. Her father has been dead for 6 days. Bush pilot. His Cessna went down in a whiteout over the Tanana Valley. They found the wreckage. They didn't find much of him. Her mother, Catherine Frost, stands beside her holding a rifle. Not a hunting rifle, a precision instrument. A Remington 700 in .308 caliber. The kind of weapon you use when missing is not an option. Cold doesn't kill you, Emma, Catherine says. Her voice is hard, not cruel, just hard, the way iron is hard, necessary. Panic kills you. Fear kills you. Giving up kills you. The cold is just cold. You respect it, you prepare for it, and you survive it. Emma's hands are numb inside her gloves. The wind burns her face. She can barely feel her toes. Do you see the target? Catherine asks. 100 yards away, a paper silhouette stapled to a pine tree. Man-sized, center mass marked with a red circle. Yes, ma'am. The wind is gusting at 20 miles per hour from your left. The temperature is 15 below zero. Your hands are shaking. Your nose is running. You can barely see through the tears in your eyes. Catherine's voice is clinical, a teacher stating facts. This is when most people miss, when they're cold, when they're scared, when they want to be somewhere else. She hands Emma the rifle. Show me you're not most people. Emma takes the weapon. It's heavy, too heavy for a 12-year-old girl who just lost her father. But Catherine doesn't believe in waiting until you're ready. Catherine believes in being ready now. Emma settles into her stance, breathes, finds the rhythm her mother taught her. Breathe in, breathe out. Between heartbeats, between thoughts, there's a space where the world goes quiet. She squeezes the trigger. The rifle kicks. The bullet flies. 100 yards through wind and cold and grief. Center mass. Dead center. Catherine nods. Good. Now do it when you're scared. That was 16 years ago. Catherine is gone now too. Training accident, the Army said. Emma knows better. But knowing doesn't change anything. The rifle is long gone, but the lesson remains. When they give up on you, that's when you show them who you really are. The next morning arrives with the kind of cold that makes your teeth ache. Emma stands on the tarmac at Fort Richardson, watching the Rangers load gear into the Black Hawk helicopter. Her medical pack weighs 45 pounds. Field supplies, trauma kit, IV fluids, chest seals, tourniquets, morphine, everything she might need to keep someone alive when the world is trying its hardest to kill them. She's been a combat medic for 3 years, trained at Fort Sam Houston, top of her class in medical skills, bottom quartile in physical fitness. The instructors passed her anyway because the Army needs medics, and she knew her job even if she couldn't carry a wounded man on her back. The Rangers know this. They've seen her struggle through training exercises, seen her fall behind on ruck marches, seen her gasping for air while they barely break a sweat. What they haven't seen is what her mother taught her. The shooting, the tracking, the survival skills learned in the harshest wilderness in North America. Emma never mentioned those skills because nobody asked, because she wanted to help people, not prove herself, because being underestimated has always been her greatest advantage. Private James Wright approaches. 22 years old, fresh face, nervous eyes. This is his first real mission. Senior Chief Frost, he says, can I ask you something? It's petty officer, Emma corrects gently. And yes. Are you scared? Emma considers the question, looks at this kid who's barely old enough to buy beer, who's about to walk into a combat zone in sub-zero temperatures. She could lie, tell him everything will be fine. That's what officers do. But Emma doesn't lie. Yes, she says, I'm scared. Fear means you understand the stakes, means you're paying attention. She adjusts her medical pack. The trick is not letting fear make your decisions for you. Wright nods. Doesn't look reassured. Emma doesn't blame him. Cole's voice cuts across the tarmac. Load up, we're wheels up in 5. The helicopter cuts through the twilight like a knife through silk. A UH-60 Blackhawk, engines screaming, rotors beating the frozen air into submission. Inside, 12 Rangers and 1 medic sit in 2 rows facing each other, weapons between their knees, faces hidden behind balaclavas and night vision goggles. The crew chief's voice crackles over the intercom. 5 minutes to LZ. Emma checks her gear for the 3rd time. Medical pack secured to her chest. M17 pistol on her hip. 17 rounds in the magazine, 1 in the chamber. No rifle. Medics don't carry rifles. They carry hope, and sometimes hope is heavier. Across from her, Private James Wright sits with his eyes closed. Emma can see his lips moving in prayer. She catches his eye and nods. He tries to smile. Almost succeeds. The helicopter banks hard. Emma's stomach drops. Through the open door, she can see the Brooks Range spreading out below them like a frozen ocean. Peaks and valleys, ice and stone, beautiful and lethal. The crew chief holds up one hand, fingers spread. 4 minutes. Emma closes her eyes and runs through her training, sucking chest wounds, arterial bleeding, hypothermia, shock, traumatic brain injury. She knows the procedures the way a pianist knows scales. Muscle memory, deeper than thought. 3 minutes. The Rangers are checking weapons now, charging handles racked, safeties checked. Marcus Diaz crosses himself and kisses a rosary that hangs from his neck. Sergeant Hayes stares at nothing, his face carved from granite. 2 minutes. Cole's voice cuts through the engine noise. Listen up. We move fast and we move quiet. Intel says the militia has approximately 20 fighters, armed with AK variants and maybe 1 or 2 PKM machine guns. They're dug in, but they're not expecting us. We hit them hard, grab the hostages, and get out before they know what happened. 1 minute. The crew chief points down. Through the door, Emma can see their landing zone, a flat stretch of ice between 2 ridges. The helicopter descends, rotors kicking up clouds of snow. 0. The skids touch down. The Rangers pour out like water from a broken dam, weapons up, scanning for threats. Emma is last out, weighed down by her medical pack. The rotor wash nearly knocks her over, but she keeps her feet. By the time she clears the helicopter, it's already climbing, already gone, leaving them in the sudden, shocking silence of the Alaskan wilderness. The temperature is 35 below zero. The wind is gusting at 40 miles per hour. Visibility is maybe 50 feet, and they have 47 miles to go. They move in single file through the darkness, following a ridgeline that winds like a scar across the face of the mountain. Cole takes point. Hayes brings up the rear. Emma is second to last, just ahead of Private Wright. The kid is limping. Emma noticed it 10 minutes into the march. A slight hitch in his stride, favoring his left leg. She moves up beside him. Right, she says quietly. Let me see. I'm fine, ma'am. That wasn't a question. He stops. The Rangers ahead keep moving, putting distance between them. Emma kneels in the snow and runs her hands down his left leg. When she touches his ankle, he hisses in pain. Sprain, she says. Probably twisted it on the helicopter landing. I can walk. I know. Can you run? Silence. Emma pulls a compression wrap from her pack and binds his ankle tight. Not too tight, she needs to maintain circulation, just tight enough to provide support. Her hands work with practiced efficiency, even through thick gloves. This'll hold for now, she says, but if we make contact and you need to sprint, you're going to be in trouble. Stay close to me. If things go bad, you drop and I'll cover you. Understood? Wright nods. He looks like he wants to say something else, but Cole's voice cuts through the darkness. Frost, what's the holdup? Emma keys her radio. Wright has a minor ankle injury, treating now. We'll catch up in 2 minutes. A pause. Then, can he walk? Yes, Sergeant. Then move your ass. We're on a timeline. Emma finishes the rap, helps Wright to his feet. They start moving again, but the rest of the team is already out of sight around a bend in the ridge. From somewhere ahead, she hears Marcus Diaz's voice, not bothering to whisper. Great. The kid's hurt and the weakest link is playing nurse. This is going to be a shit show. Someone laughs. Emma doesn't. They catch up 3 minutes later. Cole glares at her but says nothing. The march continues. 2 hours pass. The temperature drops another 5 degrees. Emma's face feels like frozen leather behind her balaclava. Her fingers are going numb despite the expedition weight gloves. But she keeps moving, one foot in front of the other, because that's what you do. You keep moving until you can't anymore, and then you keep moving anyway. The ridgeline narrows. On their left, a steep slope rises into the darkness. On their right, nothing. Just a drop that goes down and down and down into blackness, so complete it feels like falling just to look at it. This is Devil's Spine. Emma studies the slope as they move. She spent her whole life in Alaska. Grew up in Fairbanks, 60 miles from here. Her mother taught her how to read terrain, the way other mothers teach their daughters to read books. The angle of the slope, the wind direction, the way snow clings to rock, the sound it makes when you step on it, the smell of ice that's about to break. She sees something that makes her blood go cold. A cornice, a massive overhang of snow jutting out from the ridge above them like a frozen wave, held in place by nothing but luck and physics. It's unstable. Emma can tell by the way the wind has carved it, by the cracks forming at its base, by the way moonlight catches the stress fractures running through the ice like veins. She's seen cornices like this before, seen what happens when they let go, seen the avalanche debris fields that stretch for miles, grinding everything in their path to powder. She keys her radio. "Sergeant Cole, the slope above us is—" "Maintain communications discipline, Frost." His voice is sharp, annoyed. "We're in hostile territory. Radio silence unless it's an emergency." Emma releases the transmit button, looks up at the cornice, thinks about arguing, about explaining that an avalanche is an emergency even if it hasn't happened yet. Decides against it. They never listen, not until it's too late. The team keeps moving. 20 yards, 50. The cornice looms above them, a guillotine blade of ice and snow waiting for an excuse to fall. Emma watches it, watches the way the wind tugs at it, watches the cracks spreading. She's maybe 100 yards past it when she hears the sound. From somewhere in the distance, faint but unmistakable. Boom! Not close, maybe 2 miles away, but in the mountains sound carries, sound echoes. Sound travels through rock and ice and finds its way into snow that's been waiting for a reason to move. "What was that?" someone asks. "Militia," Cole says. "Probably mining operations or demolitions training. Doesn't matter. We keep—" The world ends in white. The cornice breaks free with a sound like God tearing paper. 10,000 tons of snow and ice cascading down the slope in a roaring wave of destruction that devours everything in its path. Emma sees it coming, has maybe 2 seconds to react. She grabs Private Wright by his harness and throws him forward with every ounce of strength she has, away from the path of the slide. He stumbles, catches himself, turns back. "Run!" Emma screams. But the avalanche is faster than running, faster than thought, faster than prayer. It hits her like a freight train made of frozen concrete. The world tumbles. Up becomes down. Light becomes dark. Sound becomes silence, except for the roar that fills everything, that is everything, that crushes thought and breath and hope into nothing. Emma tries to swim, tries to fight her way to the surface the way her mother taught her. Keep your arms moving. Create an air pocket. Don't panic. But there is no surface. There is only pressure and cold and the absolute certainty that she is going to die. She slams into something. A rock. A tree. Doesn't matter. The impact drives the air from her lungs, and she tries to breathe and fills her mouth with snow instead. It tastes like death. Like the end of everything. Panic claws at her mind with frozen fingers. Her lungs are screaming. Her vision is going dark. She's going to die here. Buried alive. Alone. And nobody will ever know what happened to her. Panic kills you. Her mother's voice. Cold and clear and impossibly calm. The cold is just cold. You respect it, you prepare for it, and you survive it. Emma forces herself to go still, stop fighting, conserves her oxygen. The avalanche is slowing now, the snow packing tight around her like a coffin made of ice, like a burial shroud that weighs 10,000 pounds. Then it stops. Silence, darkness, complete and absolute. Emma is buried under 10 feet of snow, maybe more. She can't move her arms, can't move her legs, can't see, can't breathe. The snow has packed so tight around her face that she can't even open her mouth. Above her, muffled and distant like voices in a dream, she hears shouting. "Casualties! Diaz is hit! Novak is bleeding! Hayes is down!" That's Cole, his voice high and tight with something that might be fear or might be command. Hard to tell through 10 feet of ice and the roaring silence in Emma's ears. "Frost!" Another voice, Hayes, desperate. "Frost, do you copy?" Emma tries to answer, tries to key her radio, but her arms are pinned and her radio might be broken anyway, and opening her mouth just fills it with more snow. She gags, coughs, uses up precious oxygen that she doesn't have to spare. "Sir, we have to dig her out." Hayes again, pleading now. "Where is she?" Cole's voice, still in command but fraying at the edges. "I don't know. Somewhere under all this, the avalanche was 100 feet wide. Footsteps above her, crunching snow, moving fast, frantic. Then Cole's voice again, closer now, maybe right above her, maybe miles away, hard to tell. Frost, Emma, can you hear me? She tries to scream, opens her mouth. Snow fills it. She's choking, drowning on frozen water. This is how she dies. Sir, a different voice, panicked, young. Diaz has a sucking chest wound. He's drowning in his own blood. Novak's got arterial bleeding from his leg. I need a tourniquet now or he's going to bleed out. Hayes is unconscious. Possible traumatic brain injury. Silence for 3 seconds. The longest 3 seconds of Emma's life. Then Cole's voice, harder now, the voice of command. The voice of a man making an impossible choice. How many casualties? 4. 4 critical, sir. And Frost? Buried, sir. Could be anywhere under 10 feet of pack ice. Could take an hour to find her. Could take... Another pause. Shorter this time. Sir, we can't just leave her. Hayes, still pleading, still believing. Cole's response comes like a judge reading a death sentence. Each word clear, each word final. Diaz is dying right now. Novak is bleeding out right now. Wright is going into shock, and Hayes needs immediate stabilization, or he's going to have a brain bleed that kills him. Frost is under 10 feet of avalanche debris, with no way to tell where she is, or if she's even still alive. We don't have the time. We don't have the manpower. We don't have a choice. Sir, that's an order, Sergeant Hayes. Cole's voice is ice, colder than the snow burying Emma alive. Frost is KIA. Mark this position for recovery later and get those litters ready. We move in 2 minutes. She could be alive down there. Then she's already dead because we can't reach her in time. A pause. When Cole speaks again, his voice is softer, sadder, but no less final. I'm sorry, but 4 men I can save are worth more than 1 I can't. That's the math. That's command. Now move. Footsteps, moving away. Emma hears it all, every word, every syllable, every death sentence wrapped in tactical necessity. They're leaving her, her team, her responsibility, the people she was supposed to keep alive, the people who were supposed to keep her alive. They're walking away and leaving her to die alone in the dark. Something breaks inside her chest. Not her ribs, something deeper. The part of her that still believed in loyalty, in duty, in the promise that no one gets left behind. The promise they make to each other, the promise that turns soldiers into brothers and makes units into families. They lied. Or maybe they didn't lie. Maybe they just meant it for each other, for the real Rangers, not for the small woman with the quiet voice who barely made it through selection. Not for the medic who couldn't carry her share. Not for Emma Frost, who was always going to be expendable. She could give up now. Let the cold take her. Let the darkness win. It would be easy. Easier than digging. Easier than fighting. Easier than living with what they just did. Easier than surviving just to see the faces of people who left her for dead. But Catherine Frost didn't raise a quitter. Catherine Frost raised a survivor. Emma can't move her arms, so she moves her fingers. An inch at a time. The snow is packed tight, but it's still just frozen water. Still just molecules that can be moved if you're patient enough, if you're desperate enough. She can't breathe, so she holds what little breath she has left, conserves it, makes it last. Her mother taught her that too. Breath control, the difference between living and dying underwater. And snow is just frozen water after all. She can't see, so she feels. Maps the space around her head. Finds the tiny gap between her face and the snow. Maybe an inch, maybe less. An air pocket created by the curve of her balaclava. Enough for maybe 30 seconds of breath, maybe less. Her right hand breaks free, just the fingertips at first, then the whole hand. She digs, claws at the snow above her face. Her lungs are screaming. Her vision is going dark at the edges, black spots blooming like flowers in the darkness. She has maybe 30 seconds of consciousness left. 20 seconds. She digs faster, both hands now, pulling snow down past her face, packing it beneath her body, creating a tiny air pocket around her head. It's not much, just enough to get 1 breath, 1 more second of life. 10 seconds. Her left hand punches through the surface. She feels wind, cold air, the touch of something that isn't death. 5 seconds. She pulls herself up, uses her arms like pistons, dragging her body through the snow, fighting for every inch. Her legs are still buried. Her medical pack catches on something. She rips it free, keeps climbing. Her face breaks the surface. She gasps, sucks in frozen air that burns her lungs like fire, coughs, vomits snow, breathes again. The air is the most beautiful thing she's ever tasted. She's alive. Emma pulls herself completely free and collapses on top of the avalanche debris, shaking, gasping, tears freezing on her face before they can fall. Around her, the mountain is silent. The team is gone. She can see their tracks in the snow, leading away toward the ridge. 12 sets of boot prints and 4 sets of drag marks from the litters carrying wounded men who need a medic. They left her. Emma lies still for 10 seconds. 20. Lets the reality of it sink in. Lets herself feel it. The betrayal, the abandonment, the cold mathematical decision that her life was worth less than theirs. Then she sits up. Her radio is smashed. She can see the broken pieces hanging from her vest. Her rifle is buried somewhere in the avalanche, probably bent or broken. But her medical pack is still strapped to her chest, somehow intact, and her M17 pistol is still in its holster at her hip. She draws the weapon, checks it, chambers around. 17 in the magazine, 1 ready to fire. 47 rounds total if she's careful. She checks herself for injuries. Bruises everywhere, possible cracked rib on her left side. Her hands are torn and bleeding from digging. Nothing critical, nothing that will kill her. She stands on shaking legs and looks at the boot prints leading away into the darkness. She has a choice now, the same choice Cole made. Simple math, simple survival. She can go back, follow her own tracks to the landing zone, call for emergency extraction, save herself. Let the team face the consequences of their decision. Let them live or die based on their own choices. That would be justice. That would be fair. Or she can follow them, can track 12 men and 4 wounded through the most hostile terrain in North America, can try to keep 4 strangers alive after they left her to die, can risk her life for people who valued hers at exactly 0. In her mind, her mother's voice speaks one more time. When they give up on you, that's when you show them who you really are. Emma checks her pistol one more time, adjusts her medical pack, tests her injured rib with careful fingers. It hurts, but it's not broken. She can move. She can fight. She can track. Then she starts walking, not back toward the landing zone, not toward safety, toward the team that abandoned her, toward the 4 men who are dying because their medic isn't there, toward the people who need her, whether they deserve her or not. The wind howls. The temperature drops. The darkness deepens. Emma Frost walks into it without hesitation, because that's what medics do. They save lives, even the lives of people who left them to die. Emma moves through the blizzard like a ghost hunting the living. No GPS, no radio, no rifle, just instinct and a lifetime of training that nobody bothered to ask about. The boot prints are already filling with fresh snow, but she doesn't need them. She reads the terrain the way other people read street signs. The angle of the slope tells her they're descending toward the valley floor. The wind direction tells her they're moving northeast. The way snow drifts against certain rocks tells her exactly where a 12-man team carrying 4 litters would choose to walk. Catherine taught her this, not in a classroom, in the wilderness. Day after day, winter after winter, until reading the land became as natural as breathing. More natural, maybe. You can forget to breathe when you're scared, but the land never lies if you know how to listen. Feel the wind, Emma. It always tells the truth. Snow lies, ice lies, people lie, but wind tells you where you are and where you need to go. The temperature is 40 below 0 now, maybe colder. Emma's hands are numb inside her gloves, despite the chemical hand warmers she activated. Her face feels like frozen leather behind the balaclava. Every breath burns her lungs, the cold air scorching her throat. She keeps walking. The Rangers are moving slow because they're carrying wounded, because they're exhausted from the avalanche, because their medic is dead and nobody else knows how to keep 4 critical casualties alive while climbing through a mountain range in a blizzard at 40 below. Emma is moving fast because she's small, and she's alone, and she's angry. Anger is fuel. Anger keeps you warm when nothing else will. 20 minutes pass. 30. The tracks are getting fresher. She's gaining on them. The wind is picking up, visibility dropping to maybe 30 feet. Good. The worse the weather, the better her chances of approaching unseen. From somewhere ahead, she hears gunfire. The sound stops her cold. Automatic weapons, a K-47's by the sound of it, and the slower, more deliberate cracks of M4 carbines returning fire. Contact. Emma breaks into a run. Her legs are screaming. Her ribs are screaming. Everything hurts. She doesn't care. She runs faster, following the sound of battle like a moth following light, like a predator following blood. She crests a ridge and drops flat on her belly. Below her, maybe 300 meters away, she can see them. The Ranger team has taken cover behind a formation of ice-covered boulders. 4 litters are laid out in the center of their defensive perimeter, dark shapes against white snow. 4 men not moving. Around them, Cole and 3 other Rangers are returning fire at an enemy force that has them surrounded on 3 sides. Emma counts the muzzle flashes. 12, maybe 15. Militia fighters with AK-47s moving through the snow like wolves circling wounded prey. They're not rushing, they're being patient, letting the Rangers burn through ammunition, waiting for the inevitable moment when the magazines run dry. The Rangers are losing. Emma can tell by the way they're shooting. Controlled bursts at first, the way they were trained, but now longer, more desperate volleys. They're running low on ammunition, running out of options, running out of time. And without a medic, the 4 men on those litters are going to die, even if the team wins this fight. Emma studies the battlefield with clinical precision. The militia has the high ground on 2 sides, using natural rock formations for cover. The Rangers are pinned in a natural bowl, with a cliff face behind them and nowhere to retreat. Classic kill box, textbook ambush, the kind of thing they teach at Ranger School so you learn how to avoid it. She looks at the wounded. Even from 300 meters away, she can see the blood. Dark stains spreading across the snow around the litters like ink on paper. Diaz, Novak, Wright, Hayes, dying because she isn't there. Dying because Cole decided she wasn't worth saving. Emma's jaw tightens. She scans the enemy positions and sees him, a militia fighter on the eastern cliff, maybe 80 meters from the Ranger position. He's setting up behind a boulder, taking his time, lining up a shot with what looks like an SVD sniper rifle. From his position and angle, from the way he's aiming, Emma knows exactly what he's targeting. Staff Sergeant Ryan Cole. The man who left her to die is about to die himself. The man who made the choice. The man who said 4 lives were worth more than 1. About to learn that sometimes the math changes. Emma could let it happen, could watch him take a bullet to the skull and call it justice. Call it karma. Call it what he deserves for leaving her buried in the snow. Instead, she draws her M17 pistol, 80 meters, with a pistol, in a blizzard, shooting uphill at a moving target through wind that's gusting at 30 miles per hour. Impossible. Catherine's voice whispers in her memory, impossible just means nobody's tried hard enough yet. Emma settles into a prone position, uses her medical pack as a rest, breathes out slowly, watching her breath fog in the frozen air. She knows her pistol, knows how it shoots, knows that at this range the bullet will drop maybe 15 inches, knows the wind will push it another 8 inches to the right. She knows all of this because her mother made her practice, made her shoot in conditions exactly like this, made her calculate and compensate and hit targets that shouldn't be hittable. The sniper is moving slowly, setting up his shot, not rushing, professional. Emma compensates for wind, compensates for drop, leads the target. Between heartbeats, there's a space where the world goes quiet. She squeezes the trigger. The M17 kicks against her palm. The bullet flies. 80 meters through wind and cold and snow and impossible odds. It hits the militia fighter's rifle right where the scope meets the receiver. The scope explodes in a shower of glass and metal. The fighter jerks back, his shot going wild, the rifle spinning out of his hands. He scrambles for cover, shouting in confusion, probably wondering what the hell just happened. Below, Ryan Cole flinches as a bullet whips past his head 6 inches to the right instead of through his brain. He spins, trying to locate the shooter who just missed him. Can't find him. The militia fighter is already gone, retreating behind the cliff face, probably trying to figure out why his rifle just exploded. Cole's voice cuts through the gunfire. Second shooter! Where the hell did that come from? The other Rangers scan the ridgeline, looking for whoever just saved their team leader's life, looking everywhere except where Emma actually is. They don't see her. She's already moving. She slides down the backside of the ridge and circles left, using the terrain to stay hidden. The militia fighters are focused on the Rangers now, distracted by the destroyed rifle and the mystery of what happened, wondering if they're facing a larger force than they thought. They don't see the small figure in winter camouflage crawling through the snow toward their position. Emma covers 150 meters in 20 minutes. Every movement calculated, every pause timed to the rhythm of gunfire. She learned this from her mother, too. How to move when people aren't looking. How to be invisible in plain sight. How to become part of the landscape. She reaches the outer edge of the Ranger perimeter, 10 meters from the nearest litter. Marcus Diaz. She can see him now. His face is gray, the color of ash. His chest is rising and falling in short, desperate gasps. Blood has soaked through the makeshift bandage someone tried to apply. They did it wrong. Too much pressure in the wrong place. Sucking chest wound. Air is getting into his chest cavity where it doesn't belong. Every breath is drowning him from the inside. He has maybe 10 minutes before his lung collapses completely. Emma low crawls forward. 5 meters. 3. The gunfire above her is constant now, a wall of sound. The militia is pressing the attack. The Rangers are falling back, condensing their perimeter. Nobody's watching the casualties because nobody can spare the attention. She reaches Diaz and immediately goes to work. Her hands move with practiced precision despite the cold, despite the gloves, despite everything. She rips open her medical pack and pulls out a chest seal, a specialized adhesive patch designed to cover penetrating chest wounds and prevent air from entering the chest cavity. She tears open Diaz's uniform with her trauma shears, finds the entry wound, right lung, just below the collarbone, maybe 2 inches across, bubbling with blood and air. She can hear it, a wet, sucking sound that means death is coming soon. She cleans the wound as best she can with frozen fingers and gauze that's already stiff with cold. Then she slaps the chest seal over it. The adhesive grabs despite the blood, despite the cold. The seal holds. The bubbling stops. Diaz's breathing immediately gets easier. His eyes flutter open. He sees her face, and his expression goes through confusion, shock, and something that might be shame in the space of 2 seconds. Frost? His voice is barely a whisper, wet with blood. You're supposed to be dead. Emma doesn't answer. She's already checking his vitals. Pulse weak but steady, blood pressure low but not critical. Respiration improving. He'll live if they can get him out of here, if they can survive the next hour. She moves to the next litter. Specialist Tyler Novak, 24 years old, arterial bleed from his left thigh. Someone tried to apply a tourniquet but did it wrong. Too loose, too far from the wound. Novak is still bleeding out, just doing it slowly. He has maybe 20 minutes before he's bled out enough to go into irreversible shock. Emma loosens the bad tourniquet and moves it higher, closer to his hip. Cinches it tight with the windlass rod. Turns it until the bleeding stops. Secures it. Novak groans but doesn't wake up. That's probably better. This hurts. She checks her watch, makes a note on the tourniquet with permanent marker. Time applied. Critical for when they get him to surgery, if they get him to surgery. Third litter, Private James Wright, the kid she saved from the avalanche, the kid whose ankle she wrapped. He's conscious but shaking violently. Hypothermia. His lips are blue. His eyes are glazed and unfocused. He's mumbling something that doesn't make sense. Emma wraps him in an emergency thermal blanket from her pack, the kind that reflects body heat. Then she starts an IV line with hands that can barely feel the needle. Warm saline. Not warm enough. It's been in her pack in 40 below temperatures. But it's warmer than his blood, and right now that's what matters. The fourth goes in on the first stick. Emma secures it with tape that barely wants to stick in the cold. Checks the flow rate. Good. Fourth litter. Sergeant Daniel Hayes, head trauma. Someone applied a pressure bandage to a gash on his scalp, but that's not the problem. The problem is the bruising around his eyes. Raccoon eyes. Classic sign of a basilar skull fracture. Emma stabilizes his neck with a cervical collar from her pack. Can't risk any movement that might sever his spinal cord if there's a fracture. Then she checks his pupils. Unequal. The right one is blown, barely reactive to her penlight. Not good. He needs a hospital. Needs a neurosurgeon. Needs things Emma can't give him in the middle of a firefight on a frozen mountain. But she can keep him alive until they get there. She finishes with Hayes and looks up. Ryan Cole is standing 5 feet away, staring at her like he's seeing a ghost, like he's seeing the dead rise, like everything he knows about the world just stopped making sense. His face has gone white beneath the grime and frost. His weapon hangs loose in his hands, forgotten. His mouth opens and closes twice before any sound comes out. Frost. His voice cracks on the name like breaking ice. How did you? Emma meets his eyes. Her voice is flat, cold as the wind, colder than the wind. I dug myself out. Now help me save them. Cole just stares. Behind him, Sergeant Hayes has regained consciousness and is trying to sit up despite the cervical collar. Emma pushes him back down with one hand, firm but gentle. Stay still. You have a skull fracture. Moving could kill you. Bennett? Hayes's voice is thick with confusion and head trauma. Jesus Christ, you're alive. Apparently, Emma turns back to Cole. Her eyes are ice. We need to move them, now. Evac can't reach us here and the militia has us surrounded. How much ammunition do you have left? Cole blinks, tries to process. His brain seems to have stopped working. We thought you were gone. I made the call. I left you to. I know what you did. Emma's voice could cut steel, could cut through bone. You left me to die because 4 was better than 5. I understand the math, Sergeant. I understand command decisions. Now answer my question. How much ammunition? Cole flinches like she slapped him, like each word is a physical blow. Maybe 30 rounds per man, 5 minutes of sustained fire at most. Then we don't have time for sustained fire. Emma looks at the terrain around them, at the cliff face behind them, at the militia positions above, at the angles and distances and possibilities. Her mind works through the tactical problem like a chess puzzle, like her mother teaching her to see 3 moves ahead. She points northeast. There's an ice chute on the north face, 400 meters that way. It descends 200 vertical meters to the valley floor. Steep but manageable if you know what you're doing. The militia won't expect it because nobody in their right mind would try to carry litters down a 60-degree ice slope in a blizzard. Cole stares at her. That chute is a death trap. Emma looks at him, really looks at him, at this man who left her buried in the snow, who declared her dead to make his conscience easier, who chose 4 lives over 1 and is now confronted with the one who refused to stay dead. So was leaving me behind, she says quietly, but I'm still here. The words hang in the air between them like frost, like accusation, like truth. Cole looks at the 4 men on the litters, looks at Emma, looks at his remaining 3 able-bodied rangers who are running out of ammunition and options and time. He makes his choice. We follow Frost, he announces. His voice carries across the perimeter, cutting through the gunfire. 2 men per litter. Frost leads navigation. I cover rear. Move on my mark. The rangers stare at him, then at Emma, this small woman who's supposed to be dead, who they left behind, who somehow found them anyway. Nobody argues. Emma organizes them with quiet efficiency. No wasted words, no wasted motion. Hayes and another ranger take Diaz. 2 more take Novak. The wounded ranger who took a round during the ambush pairs with someone else for right. Cole and the last man carry Hayes. We move fast, Emma says. Use the blizzard as cover. They can't see more than 20 meters in this. We'll be gone before they realize it. And if they follow us into the chute? Cole asks. Emma's hand rests on the grip of her M17. Then they'll regret it. They move out. Emma leads, picking a path through the ice and rock that somehow exists exactly where she needs it to. Like she can see through the blizzard. Like she knows this mountain the way she knows her own heartbeat. Behind her, the rangers follow, carrying their wounded like pallbearers carrying coffins. Except these men aren't dead yet. Not while Emma Frost is still breathing. The militia is still firing, but they're shooting at shadows now. At positions the rangers abandoned 30 seconds ago. By the time they realize their targets are gone, the team is 200 meters away and descending into the ice chute. The chute is everything Emma promised. Steep, treacherous, absolutely insane to attempt with 4 litter patients in a blizzard at 40 below with limited visibility. They attempt it anyway. Emma goes first, testing each foothold before committing her weight. The ice is hard as concrete and slick as glass. Friction doesn't exist here. One wrong step means a 200-meter slide to the rocks below. A slide that ends in death. She doesn't take any wrong steps. Behind her, the rangers follow her exact path, step for step, foothold for foothold. trusting this woman they left for dead because she's the only one who seems to know where the hell she's going, because she's the only one keeping them alive. The wind howls through the chute like a living thing trying to tear them loose. Snow swirls in vortexes that steal breath and sight. Visibility drops to 10 feet, 5 feet. Emma navigates by feel, by memory, by instinct she can't explain even to herself. The mountain speaks if you know how to listen. Feel the angle of the slope. Feel where the ice is solid. Feel where it's about to break. They're 50 meters down when disaster strikes. A section of ice gives way beneath a litter carrying Marcus Diaz. The two rangers holding it lose their footing simultaneously. The litter starts sliding toward the edge of the chute, toward a 100-meter drop, toward certain death. Emma sees it happening in slow motion. The litter picking up speed. The rangers scrambling for purchase, finding nothing. Diaz, unconscious and helpless, sliding toward oblivion. She doesn't think. Thinking takes time they don't have. She just moves. She launches herself down the slope, sliding on her side, using her body as a brake and her medical pack as an anchor. Her hands find the litter frame just as it reaches the edge of the drop. Her fingers close on metal and nylon. She holds on. The weight yanks her forward. Her boots slide on ice. 50 feet from the drop. 40. Emma digs her heels into the ice. Her gloves start to tear. She can feel skin ripping, feel blood starting to flow. The litter keeps pulling her forward. Gravity is stronger than grip. Physics doesn't care about determination. 30 feet. She screams with effort. Pure animal rage at the mountain for trying to take another one. At the cold for trying to kill them. At the universe for making her fight this hard just to keep breathing. Just to keep others breathing. 20 feet. A hand grabs her harness from behind. Ryan Cole. He's abandoned his own litter and is pulling her back with everything he has. With strength born of desperation or guilt, or both. 15 feet. Two more rangers join, all of them hauling backward against the weight of the litter and gravity and death itself. Their boots slip. They dig in, slip again, hold. 10 feet, they stop sliding. 5 feet from the edge, they stop. For a moment, nobody moves, nobody breathes. They just hang there on the ice, holding on, refusing to let go, refusing to let another one die. Then, slowly, inch by impossible inch, they pull Diaz back from the edge. When it's over, Emma's hands are bleeding inside her shredded gloves. She can feel the wetness, feel the burn. Cole is gasping like he just ran a marathon. The other rangers look like they've aged 10 years in 10 seconds. Emma stands up on shaking legs, checks Diaz, still unconscious, still breathing, chest seal still in place. IV still running. He's alive. She looks at Cole. We keep moving. Cole looks at her hands, at the blood dripping onto the ice, steaming in the cold. Frost, you're injured. Let me... We keep moving, Sergeant. Emma, that's not my name to you. Her voice is ice and fire. Absolute zero in the heart of a furnace. You left me to die, Cole. You don't get to use my first name. You don't get to care about my hands. You don't get to pretend we're friends or comrades or anything except what we are. She pauses. You get to follow my orders and help me keep your men alive. That's it. That's all you get. Cole's face crumbles, like something inside him just broke beyond repair. I know what I did, and I'll carry it for the rest of my life. But right now, please, let me help you. Emma stares at him, at this man who made an impossible choice and got it wrong, who saved 4 lives by sacrificing one, except the one refused to be sacrificed, who's now learning what it costs to be wrong about who's expendable. You want to help? She asks. Her voice is quiet now. Dangerous. Pick up your litter and follow me. She turns and continues down the chute. Cole picks up his litter and follows. They don't speak again. They reach the bottom 40 minutes later. Every one of them is shaking from exhaustion and cold in adrenaline crash. But they're alive, all of them, against odds that should have killed them 3 times over. Emma immediately checks her patients, adjusts IVs, checks bandages, monitors vitals. She works with mechanical precision, ignoring her bleeding hands, ignoring the pain in her ribs, ignoring everything except the 4 men who need her. Diaz, stable, breathing easier, color improving. Novak, tourniquet holding, no further bleeding, still unconscious but pulse is strong. Right, core temperature rising, shivering has decreased, good sign. Hayes, still unconscious, pupils still unequal. Needs a neurosurgeon but stable enough to transport. When she's satisfied they're as stable as she can make them, Emma allows herself 30 seconds to rest. 30 seconds to close her eyes and just breathe. That's when the militia attacks again. 6 fighters burst from an ice cave 50 meters away. They must have circled around during the chute descent. Must have known there was only one way down and waited in ambush. It's the perfect trap. The Rangers are scattered, exhausted, low on ammunition, carrying wounded. They're in the worst possible position to defend themselves. The militia opens fire. A Ranger goes down, hit in the shoulder. Another dives for cover behind a boulder. Cole tries to return fire, but his magazine is nearly empty. 3 rounds left, maybe 4. The militia advances. 30 meters, 20. Taking their time. They know they've won. They can see it in the Rangers' faces. See the exhaustion. See the defeat. Emma watches it all happen. Watches her team, the team that abandoned her, about to be slaughtered. She makes a decision. She drops her medical pack, draws her M17 pistol, and runs straight at the enemy. Cole screams, "Frost, no!" But Emma is already gone, already moving, using the blizzard, using the terrain, becoming the ghost again. The militia fighters see movement and swing their weapons toward it. They fire. Rounds snap through the space where Emma was a second ago. But she's not there anymore. She angles left, disappears behind a boulder. The militia lose sight of her. They're scanning, searching, confused. Where did she go? Emma comes up on their flank, 10 meters away. She steps out from cover, 2 hands on her pistol. Proper isosceles stance, the way her mother taught her. Aims, fires, 2 rounds, center mass. The first militia fighter drops before he knows she's there. The others spin toward her. She's already moving, already behind different cover. They fire at where she was, hit nothing but ice and rock. She appears again, different angle, 45 degrees from their position. They never see her coming until she's already shooting. 3 more rounds. Second fighter down. 4 left. They're backing up now, trying to get distance, trying to regroup. This isn't going how they planned. Emma's pistol locks open. Empty magazine. She drops it, pulls a fresh one from her belt. Her hands are slick with blood, and her fingers are numb, and the magazine doesn't want a seat. She slaps it. Hard. It clicks home. The militia sees their chance. They advance, all 4 of them, weapons up, 15 meters. They're going to cut her down in the open. Emma slams the slide release, chambers around, raises the weapon. 3 fighters remaining. The 4th has broken left, trying to flank. She tracks the nearest one, fires. 1 shot. His head snaps back. He drops. She pivots. Second fighter. He gets a shot off. The bullet cracks past Emma's ear, close enough to feel the pressure wave. Close enough to hear death whisper her name. She doesn't flinch, just tracks him, leads him, squeezes. He clutches his chest and falls. 2 left, 1 directly ahead, 1 flanking. The flanker fires. Emma feels the impact. Something hits her shoulder, punches through. She spins with the impact, stays on her feet. She's been shot. Doesn't matter. She tracks the flanker, fires twice. He goes down. 1 left, dead ahead. 10 meters. He's bringing his weapon up. Emma is faster. 3 rounds, center mass. He drops. Silence except for the wind. Emma stands in the snow, pistol raised, breathing hard. Around her, 6 bodies. She killed 5 of them in less than 30 seconds with a sidearm in a blizzard. The shoulder wound is bleeding. She can feel warmth spreading down her arm. Can feel her left hand starting to go numb. Doesn't matter. Not yet. The Rangers stare at her from their positions. Nobody speaks. Nobody moves. They're looking at her like she's something out of mythology, like she's not quite human. Sergeant Hayes is the first to find his voice. Holy Mother of God. Emma holsters her weapon with her right hand. Her left isn't working properly anymore. Picks up her medical pack with her good arm. Walks back to her patients like she just went for a stroll. Like she didn't just kill 5 men and take a bullet. Diaz is stable, she says, checking his IV with 1 hand. Her voice is steady, professional. Novak's tourniquet is holding. Wright's core temperature is coming up. Hayes is still unconscious, but his vitals are steady. She looks at Cole. Her face is pale. How far to the extraction point? Cole just stares at her. His face is white. His hands are shaking. Frost, you just... You're hit. How far, Sergeant? 2 kilometers, maybe less. His voice is barely a whisper. Emma, who are you? She looks at him with those ice blue eyes. I'm the medic you left to die, the one who crawled out of her own grave, the one who tracked you through a blizzard and saved the men you couldn't save because you thought I was gone. She pauses. Blood is dripping from her fingertips now. I'm the person who's been here all along. You just never bothered to look. Cole opens his mouth, closes it. He looks like a man who just realized he bet everything on the wrong card and lost everything that mattered. Emma turns to the rest of the team. We have 2 kilometers to extract. The militia knows we're here, and they're going to bring reinforcements. We move now, and we move fast. Any questions? Silence. Good. Someone help me with his shoulder, then let's go. They move out. But something has changed. The Rangers aren't looking at Emma like she's a liability anymore. They're looking at her like she's a force of nature, like she's something that belongs in mythology, not military uniform. And Ryan Cole walks behind her, watching this small woman navigate the frozen wilderness like she was born to it, and understands that he didn't just make a mistake on that mountain. He made the worst mistake of his life. He left behind the only person who could save them. And somehow, impossibly, she came back anyway. Not for him, for them, for the men who needed her, even though their leader threw her away. The blizzard howls, the mountain groans, and somewhere ahead the extraction point waits. But first, they have 2 more kilometers of hell to walk through, with Emma Frost leading the way. The woman they buried, the woman who refused to stay dead, the woman who is saving them whether they deserve it or not. The extraction point is a flat stretch of frozen lake 2 kilometers northeast of their position. Emma knows this because she studied the mission maps while everyone else assumed she'd be useless. She knows the wind patterns that make it safe for helicopter landings, knows where the ice is thick enough to support a Black Hawk, knows things nobody asked her about because they never thought they'd need her knowledge. They need her now. The team moves in disciplined silence through the blizzard. Emma leads despite the bullet wound in her shoulder. One of the Rangers wrapped it with pressure bandages torn from someone's first aid kit. It's not great, but it's keeping her from bleeding out. That's all that matters. She checks the wounded every 5 minutes. Diaz is holding steady, breathing easier now that the chest seal is working. Novak's tourniquet is still tight, no further bleeding. Wright's shivering has decreased significantly. His core temperature is rising. Hayes drifts in and out of consciousness, murmuring things that don't make sense, but his vitals remain stable enough. Behind them, somewhere in the white void, the militia is regrouping. Emma can feel it the way animals feel approaching storms. The fighter who ran from the ice cave will bring reinforcements. They have maybe 20 minutes before this mountain becomes a killing field again. Cole moves up beside her, tries to take point. Frost, let me lead. You're injured. Not now. Emma's voice is clinical, detached. Save it for the after-action report. There might not be an after-action if we don't. Emma stops walking, holds up a fist. The team halts immediately, all of them dropping into defensive positions without needing orders. She's heard something, a mechanical sound cutting through the wind, low and rhythmic, artificial. Down, she hisses. Everyone down, now. The Rangers drop. Emma crawls forward to a ridge overlooking the extraction point, moving slow despite the urgency. Slow is smooth, smooth is fast. One of her mother's mantras. What she sees makes her blood freeze colder than the wind. The lake is there, perfect landing zone, flat ice stretching for half a kilometer. But on the eastern ridge, 400 meters away, she spots the silhouette of a weapons system against the gray sky. Shoulder-fired surface-to-air missile launcher. Strela 2. Russian design, probably Soviet surplus sold on the black market. Capable of taking down a helicopter at 3 kilometers with a heat-seeking warhead. And there are 6 militia fighters dug in around it, their positions carefully chosen to provide overlapping fields of fire. Emma slides back down to Cole. We have a problem. She explains what she saw. Cole's face goes gray beneath the frost and grime. They knew. They knew where our extraction point was. Doesn't matter how they knew, Emma says. Her shoulder is throbbing now, a deep ache that's spreading down her arm. Matters that they're there. Any helicopter that tries to land will be a fireball before the skids touch ice. Can we call for fire support? Artillery? Airstrike? Weather's too bad. Nothing's flying except our ride out, and it can't come in until that AA position is neutralized. Emma's mind is racing through options. None of them are good. Cole looks at his remaining 4 able-bodied rangers. 2 are wounded, one with a shoulder injury from the earlier ambush, another with minor shrapnel wounds. One is carrying Diaz's litter. That leaves Cole and Emma as the only ones at full combat effectiveness. Except Emma has a bullet hole through her shoulder and can barely lift her left arm. "We assault the position," Cole says. "All of us. Leave the wounded here with—" "No," Emma's voice is flat, final. "Frost, we don't have a choice. You have 4 critical casualties who will die without constant monitoring. You have 2 wounded rangers who can barely walk, and you want to assault a fortified position with a crew-served weapon across 400 meters of open ground?" She looks at him. Really looks at him. "That's not tactics, Cole. That's suicide with extra steps." "Then what do you suggest?" Emma is quiet for a moment, doing math in her head. Wind speed and direction, distance and angles, approach routes. Her mother's voice whispering lessons learned in frozen wilderness a lifetime ago. Small targets survive, big targets die. One person can go where 12 cannot. "I go alone," she says. Cole's response is immediate. "Absolutely not. Small target, fast mover. I can use the terrain and weather to get close before they see me. You'll be outnumbered 6-1. I've been outnumbered before." Emma checks her M17. 1 magazine left, 17 rounds. She looks at the dead militia fighter from the earlier engagement, the one whose AK-47 she hasn't taken yet. She picks it up now, checks the magazine. 30 rounds. "Make that 47 rounds for 6 targets. I've had worse odds." "You're wounded, Frost. You can barely use your left arm." "I shoot right-handed. My left arm just needs to support the weapon. I can do that." Emma's voice is steady, matter of fact, like she's discussing the weather instead of a solo assault against fortified enemy positions. Cole grabs her good arm. "Frost, I can't let you do this. I already left you once. I won't." Emma pulls her arm free, gently but firmly. "You don't get to protect me now, Sergeant. You gave up that right when you walked away from my grave." Her voice is cold, but not angry, just stating facts. "This is my choice, my call. You want to help? Get on the radio and tell that helicopter to be ready to land the second I take out that AA gun." "And if you don't come back?" Emma looks at the 4 men on the litters, at Diaz with his chest seal keeping him breathing, at Novak with a tourniquet keeping him from bleeding out, at Wright wrapped in thermal blankets, fighting hypothermia, at Hayes with his fractured skull and unequal pupils. "Then you carry them out yourself," she says quietly. "But they don't die because I wasn't there. Not again. I won't let that happen twice." She stands. Cole stands with her. For a moment, they just look at each other. This man who left her and this woman who came back. "I'm sorry," Cole says. His voice breaks, cracks like ice over deep water. "I'm so goddamn sorry, Emma, for what I did, for who I thought you were, for—" "I know," Emma says, "but sorry doesn't change what happened. It doesn't make the cold less cold or the mountain less high. It just means you understand you were wrong." She pauses. "That's something, but it's not enough." "What would be enough?" "Getting them home alive, all of them. That's what would be enough." She turns and walks away before he can respond, disappears into the blizzard like smoke. Cole stands there for a long moment, staring at the white void where she vanished. Behind him, Sergeant Hayes has regained consciousness and is watching from his litter, his eyes unfocused but aware. "Sir," Hayes says quietly, his words slightly slurred from the head trauma. "Who is that woman?" Cole doesn't answer for a long time. When he finally speaks, his voice is barely audible over the wind. "I don't know anymore, but she's better than all of us combined." Emma moves through the ice field like a predator, patient, deliberate, every step calculated to minimize sound and maximize cover. The blizzard is her ally now. Visibility is down to 20 meters. The militia fighters won't see her coming until she's on top of them, and by then, it will be too late. She circles wide, adding distance but gaining the high ground. Takes her 15 minutes to cover 300 meters. The pain in her shoulder is constant now, a deep throb that sends shooting pains down her arm with every movement. She ignores it. Pain is just information. Information she can choose to act on or not. Right now, she chooses not. The last 100 meters she does on her belly, dragging herself across ice that cuts through her uniform like broken glass. Her shoulder wound is bleeding again. She can feel the warmth spreading, can feel her left arm getting weaker. Doesn't matter, not yet. At 80 meters, she stops and observes. 6 fighters, like she thought. The AA gun is set up on a tripod with 2 men manning it. 1 gunner, 1 loader. The other 4 are spread out in a defensive perimeter at roughly 90-degree intervals, scanning for threats with practiced discipline. They're professionals, not militia in the sense of farmers with rifles. These are trained soldiers, possibly former military from somewhere. The way they move, the way they've positioned themselves, it all speaks to training and experience, which makes them dangerous, but it also makes them predictable. Emma spots the patrol pattern. 1 fighter walks a circuit that brings him 40 meters from the main position every 3 minutes. When he's isolated, she'll have a 30-second window before someone notices he's missing. She waits. Patience is a weapon, sometimes the best weapon. 3 minutes pass. The fighter begins his circuit. Emma tracks him with her eyes, timing her breathing to his footsteps, watching his pattern. 30 meters from the group. 35. 40. Now. She rises from the ice and closes the distance in seconds. The fighter never hears her coming, never knows she's there until her arm wraps around his throat and cuts off his air. He struggles. She holds on. 10 seconds. 15. He goes limp. Emma lowers him silently to the ground, takes his AK-47, checks the magazine. Full. 60 rounds now. Better odds. 5 targets left. She moves to her next position. A boulder 60 meters from the AA gun. Good line of sight. Good cover. She settles in and brings the AK to her shoulder. Her left arm is weak, but it's holding. Barely. This is the moment where stealth ends and chaos begins. She aims at the fighter farthest from the group, the one who'll take longest to reach cover, the one who's most exposed. Breathes out slowly. Squeezes the trigger. The AK barks. The fighter drops like a puppet with cut strings. 4 left. The others react instantly, scanning for the shooter, shouting in what sounds like Russian, moving to cover positions. Professional, disciplined, exactly what she expected. The 2 men on the AA gun swing it around, trying to locate the threat, but it's designed to track aircraft, not individual soldiers. Too slow, too cumbersome for this kind of fight. Emma is already moving. She sprints left, away from her firing position, and drops behind a different boulder 40 meters away. The militia fighters open fire on her original position. Rounds chip ice and crack stone where she was 5 seconds ago. She waits until they commit to suppressing her old position, then leans out and fires. 3-round burst. The nearest fighter goes down hard. 3 left. The AA gunner spots her muzzle flash and tries to swing the missile launcher toward her. Emma puts 2 rounds into his chest before he can complete the traverse. He falls away from the weapon. 2 left. The remaining fighters break. 1 runs toward the AA gun, trying to take over the weapon. Smart. The other lays down suppressing fire in Emma's direction, trying to keep her head down while his partner gets the weapon operational. Emma doesn't stay down. She breaks from cover and runs at an angle that puts the AA gun between her and the shooter. Uses it as a shield. 60 meters. 50. The shooter can't get a clean line without hitting his own weapon or his partner. The fighter reaching for the AA gun sees her coming, brings his AK up. He's fast. Emma is faster. She fires on the move. The range is bad and the conditions are worse, and her left arm is screaming. But her mother taught her to shoot running through Alaskan wilderness in conditions exactly like this. Taught her to compensate for movement and wind and adrenaline. 3 rounds. 2 miss. 1 hits. The fighter falls away from the weapon. 1 left. The last militia fighter realizes he's alone with a woman who just killed 5 of his men in less than 60 seconds. He makes a choice, a smart choice. He turns and runs. Emma lets him. She's not here to kill everyone. She's here for the gun. She reaches the AA position and examines the Strela 2. Russian military surplus, like she thought. Old but functional. The guidance system is analog, simple but effective. She could disable it properly if she had time and tools. She has neither. So she does what her mother taught her about things you can't fix properly. You destroy them completely. Emma pulls every grenade from the dead fighter's equipment, 4 in total. RG-D5s, Russian fragmentation grenades. Old but effective. She clusters them around the missile launcher's guidance system and fire control unit. Jury rigs a tripwire using paracord from her medical pack, connecting it to the pins on all 4 grenades. Connect the tripwire to the weapon's trigger mechanism. If anyone tries to use this weapon again, it'll explode in their face, turn them into hamburger. But that's not enough. She needs to be absolutely certain. Emma takes the last grenade, pulls the pin, drops it into the launcher's tube, and runs. She makes it 20 meters before the explosion. The blast wave knocks her flat. The Strela 2 turns into shrapnel and twisted metal. Secondary explosions as the missiles cook off. The sound echoes across the frozen lake like thunder, announcing the end of the world. Emma keys her radio with her good hand, uses the emergency frequency that should still work, even with her primary radio destroyed. This is Ranger Med to any aircraft on station. AA position is neutralized. Repeat, AA is down. LZ is clear for landing. Static. Then a voice. Male. Pilot. Professional. Ranger Med, this is Rescue 4-1. We have your position. Confirm you are Petty Officer Frost? Confirmed. A pause. Ma'am, you're listed as KIA on our roster. I got better. How far out are you? 5 minutes. Stand by for pickup. Another pause. Ma'am, that explosion we just saw, was that you? Affirmative. Enemy AA is destroyed. LZ is clear. Copy that. Rescue 4-1 inbound. 5 mics. Emma allows herself 3 seconds of relief. 3 seconds to close her eyes and just breathe. Then she remembers. 400 meters between her and the team. And somewhere in that white hell, the militia reinforcements are coming. She heard them on the enemy radio chatter before she destroyed the AA position. At least 20 fighters converging on the lake. She has 5 minutes to get back to the team before the helicopter arrives. 5 minutes to cross 400 meters of open ground with a bullet wound and exhausted legs and the militia closing in. She starts running. Her legs are screaming. Her lungs are on fire. Her shoulder feels like someone is driving a railroad spike through it with every movement. She runs anyway, faster, because those men on the litters have stayed alive this long because of her, and she'll be damned if they die now. She's 200 meters from the team position when she sees them. 8 militia fighters, moving fast toward the extraction point. They heard the explosion. They know something happened. They're coming to investigate. And Emma is caught in the open with an empty AK-47 and 1 magazine left for her pistol. She doesn't think. Thinking takes time. She just drops prone and opens fire. The AK empties in seconds, full auto, 30 rounds gone in the blink of an eye. She doesn't hit anyone. The range is too long, the conditions too bad, her position too unstable. But she doesn't need to hit them. She needs to slow them down. The militia fighters scatter, diving for cover. They've just watched their AA position explode, and now they're taking fire from an unexpected direction. They don't know how many enemies they're facing. Confusion is a weapon. Emma rolls left, comes up running, empties her last pistol magazine in their direction. 17 rounds in 3 seconds, controlled pairs mostly, but the last few shots are just desperation fire. 1 fighter goes down, luck more than skill. 7 left. Emma's weapons are empty. She's still 100 meters from the team. The militia is spreading out, flanking her, about to cut her off from the Rangers in the incoming helicopter. Then she hears the most beautiful sound in the world, the roar of helicopter rotors cutting through the storm. The Black Hawk comes in fast and low, emerging from the blizzard like an avenging angel. Military gray against white snow, door guns bristling. The door gunner opens up with an M240 machine gun. Tracer rounds walk across the ice field like deadly fireflies, forcing the militia to break contact and scatter. Emma uses the covering fire to sprint the last 100 meters. Her lungs are burning. Her vision is tunneling, black spots dancing at the edges. She's running on nothing but will and spite and the absolute refusal to quit now. She reaches the team position and collapses. Her legs give out. She goes down hard on the ice. Cole grabs her. "Frost, are you hit again?" "No," she gasps, can barely form words. "Get them. Get them on the bird, now." The helicopter lands on the frozen lake. Rotor wash kicks up walls of snow that make visibility even worse. The Rangers carry the litters at a dead run. Cole and another Ranger help Emma to her feet and half carry, half drag her toward the aircraft. The militia is rallying. opening fire from 200 meters. Rounds crack past them. One ranger stumbles. Emma catches him with her good arm, keeps him moving. Nobody gets left behind, not anymore. They reach the helicopter. The litters are loaded first. Diaz, Novak, Wright, Hayes, all four still breathing, still alive. Against odds that should have killed them a dozen times over. The door gunner is still firing. Brass casings rain down inside the cabin like metal hail. The pilot is screaming into his radio, "We're taking fire! We need to lift now! Now!" The Rangers pile in. Cole grabs Emma and physically throws her into the cabin. She lands hard on the metal floor. Doesn't care. Can't feel anything except exhaustion and relief, and the simple fact that they made it. The helicopter lifts off. Militia rounds ping off the armored hull. One cracks through a window. The door gunner keeps firing until they're out of range, then finally stops. The barrel of his M240 is glowing red. Silence except for the roar of engines and the gasping breath of men who thought they were going to die and somehow didn't. Emma lies on the metal floor, staring at the roof of the cabin. Her whole body is shaking, not from cold anymore, from adrenaline crash, from exhaustion so profound it feels like gravity has doubled, from the simple fact that she's still alive when she shouldn't be. Cole kneels beside her. His face is streaked with tears he's not trying to hide anymore. "You did it," he says. His voice is raw, broken. "You saved all of them. All of us." Emma turns her head slowly and looks at the four litters, at the helicopter medics now working on her patients. Professional military medical personnel with better equipment than she had, better training than she got. But they're looking at her work, the chest seals, the tourniquets, the IVs, all applied perfectly under impossible conditions, and their expressions are pure professional respect. One medic, a staff sergeant with 20 years of patches on his flight suit, looks up and catches Emma's eye. "Ma'am, whoever did this field medicine is a goddamn miracle worker." Cole speaks quietly. "She did, and she killed 11 enemy combatants with a sidearm and seized rifle to save us, after we left her to die in an avalanche." The medic stares at Emma, really looks at her, at this small woman with the ice blue eyes and the quiet voice who somehow did the impossible. "You did what?" Emma doesn't answer. She just closes her eyes and lets herself float, lets the darkness take her. Not death, just sleep. The kind of sleep that comes when you pushed yourself past every limit and somehow survived anyway. The helicopter flies on toward Fort Richardson, toward warmth, toward safety, toward the questions that will come later. But right now, Emma sleeps and dreams of snow. 3 days later, Emma wakes up in a hospital bed at Fort Richardson. Her hands are bandaged properly now, white gauze and proper medical tape instead of torn gloves in desperation. Her ribs are wrapped. Someone put 17 stitches in a laceration on her scalp she doesn't remember getting. The shoulder wound, a through and through that somehow missed every major artery, has been cleaned and dressed and is already starting to heal. She's young, she's strong, she'll recover. Physically anyway. The room is private, quiet. A window shows gray Alaskan sky and falling snow. The same snow that tried to kill her. The same snow that buried her alive. It looks peaceful from here, almost beautiful. The door opens. A doctor enters. Army, colonel's rank. She's in her 50s with kind eyes and no-nonsense demeanor. "Petty Officer Frost," the doctor says. "I'm Colonel Martinez. I've been overseeing your recovery." "The others?" Emma's voice is hoarse from intubation. They must have put her under for surgery. "The casualties from the mission?" "All stable. Corporal Diaz and Specialist Novak are in ICU, but expected to make full recovery. Private Wright is already out of bed and asking about you. Sergeant Hayes is still unconscious, but his vitals are strong. The neurosurgeon is optimistic." Martinez smiles slightly. "The trauma surgeon who worked on Diaz said whoever did the field medicine on that chest wound saved his life. Said it was the best combat casualty care he's seen in 30 years of military medicine." Emma nods, doesn't smile, doesn't feel triumph, just relief. They lived, that's all that matters. "When can I go back to duty?" "That's not up to me. There's an investigation. Army CID wants to talk to you. So does your chain of command." Martinez pauses, watches Emma's face carefully. "There's also someone here who's been waiting to see you since you came out of surgery. Says it's important. Tell him I'm not ready." Emma knows who it is, knows what he wants. Absolution, forgiveness, some way to make the weight of his choices lighter. She can't give him that. Not yet. Maybe not ever. It's not Cole, Martinez says gently. It's Hayes. Sergeant Hayes woke up this morning and demanded to see you. We told him he needs to rest. He told us we could go to hell. Emma almost smiles. Almost. Send him in. 5 minutes later, Sergeant Daniel Hayes enters the room in a wheelchair pushed by a nurse. His head is bandaged. One eye is swollen shut, but the other eye is clear and focused. He waves the nurse away and wheels himself to Emma's bedside. They look at each other in silence for a moment. You look like hell, Hayes says finally. You look like you got hit by an avalanche and left for dead. Hayes laughs, then stops because it hurts. About that, I need you to know something, Frost. When Cole gave the order to leave you, I argued, told him we couldn't just abandon you, that we had to at least try. I heard, Emma says quietly. I heard everything from under the snow. Hayes closes his good eye. I should have done more than argue, should have refused the order, should have started digging anyway, should have. Then you'd have been court-martialed, and I'd still have been buried. At least your way you were there to carry Diaz when I couldn't. Emma's voice softens slightly. You tried, Hayes. That's more than most did. It's not enough. No, Emma agrees, but it's something. Hayes reaches into his pocket and pulls out something small. A silver coin, unit challenge coin from the 75th Ranger Regiment. He places it on Emma's blanket carefully, like he's handling something sacred. Every man in that team wants you to have theirs, he says. We voted on it, unanimous. We're all still alive because of you. Because you refused to quit. Because you were better than all of us combined. He pauses. His voice goes quiet. You're the kind of soldier I wish I was. Emma picks up the coin, studies it, the Ranger tab, the scroll, the motto. Rangers lead the way. I didn't do it for coins, Hayes. I know. You did it because it was right, because they needed you. Hayes meets her eyes with his one good one. Cole's a broken man, you know, can barely sleep, keeps seeing you buried in that snow, keeps hearing himself say you were KIA. I've known him for 15 years, never seen him like this. Good, Emma says coldly. He should see it, he should hear it, every day for the rest of his life. He's recommending you for the Silver Star and requesting a formal reprimand for himself. Wants it in his permanent record. Wants everyone to know what he did. Emma is silent for a long moment. What do you think happens now? I think there'll be an investigation. Board of inquiry. They'll ask questions. Cole will tell the truth. He's too broken to lie anymore. You'll tell the truth. And then people way above our pay grade will decide what it all means. Hayes leans forward slightly. But whatever they decide, everyone who was on that mountain knows what really happened. You were thrown away, declared dead, left to die alone. And you came back anyway, saved every single one of us. I'm not a hero, Hayes. No, he agrees. You're something better. You're someone who does what's right even when nobody's watching, even when nobody deserves it, even when it would be easier to walk away. He turns his wheelchair toward the door, stops, looks back. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. I'm sorry we left you. I'm sorry I didn't fight harder. And I'm grateful, so goddamn grateful, that you're strong enough to come back anyway. I haven't forgiven anyone, Emma says quietly. Hayes nods slowly. Haven't you? You came back. You saved us. If that's not forgiveness, what is it? It's duty, Emma says. Nothing more. Hayes considers this. Maybe, or maybe you're a better person than the rest of us, and you can't see it because you're too busy being what we need instead of what you deserve. He wheels toward the door. Get some rest, Senior Chief. We still need you. I'm not Senior Chief yet. You will be. After this, they'd be idiots not to promote you. He pauses at the door. And Emma, thank you. For being who you are. For doing what you did. For being better than we deserved. He leaves. Emma stares at the challenge coin for a long time. Then she puts it in her bedside drawer and closes her eyes. Sleep doesn't come. It never does anymore. Not without seeing snow. Not without feeling cold. Not without hearing Cole's voice declaring her dead. The formal hearing takes place 2 weeks later. Emma sits at a table in dress uniform, her hands still bandaged, her shoulder still healing. Across from her, a panel of 3 officers, a colonel, a brigadier general, a full-bird captain who handles JAG matters. They've already heard testimony from Hayes, from the other Rangers, from the helicopter pilot, From the trauma surgeons who saved 4 lives because someone did everything right in impossible conditions. From the door gunner who watched Emma sprint through enemy fire to reach the helicopter. Now it's Cole's turn. Staff Sergeant Ryan Cole stands at attention in dress uniform and tells them everything. The avalanche, the casualties, the impossible choice, the decision to leave Emma behind. The math that said 4 lives were worth more than one. He tells them the truth, all of it. I made a tactical assessment, he says. His voice is steady, but his eyes are dead, empty, like something inside him burned out and never reignited. 4 critical casualties requiring immediate care. 1 medic buried under estimated 10 feet of avalanche debris with minimal chance of survival. Limited time, limited manpower, enemy presence, worsening weather conditions. He pauses. I chose to save the 4 I could reach instead of the 1 I couldn't. I declared Petty Officer Frost KIA and ordered the team to move out. The general leans forward. And then what happened, Sergeant? Then Petty Officer Frost proved me wrong in every way possible, sir. Cole's voice finally cracks. Just slightly, just enough to show the human underneath the professional soldier. She dug herself out, tracked us through a blizzard with no equipment, found us when we were pinned down and losing. She stabilized all 4 casualties under fire using field medicine that the trauma surgeon said was textbook perfect. She led us through terrain that should have killed us. She personally eliminated 11 enemy combatants with a sidearm and seized rifle. She destroyed an enemy AA position that would have prevented our extraction. She took a bullet and kept fighting. He pauses, takes a breath. She saved every single one of us after we left her to die. After I left her to die. After I declared her dead to make myself feel better about abandoning her. Silence in the room. Heavy, thick. The kind of silence that weighs on your chest. The general's expression doesn't change. Do you believe your decision was correct, Sergeant? Cole looks at Emma for the first time since entering the room. She meets his gaze without expression, without anger, without anything except cold assessment. No, sir, Cole says. I made the worst decision of my military career. I gave up on one of my people. I declared her dead without confirmation. I abandoned her because digging would have taken time, and I told myself I didn't have time. But the truth is I gave up too fast because it was easier to leave 1 than to try to save 5. He turns back to the panel. I request a formal reprimand be entered into my service record. I request Petty Officer Frost be recommended for the Silver Star. And I request that I never be given command of people better than me again, because clearly I can't be trusted to recognize who those people are. The silence stretches. The general makes notes. The colonel whispers something to the captain. Emma sits perfectly still, watching it all play out. Finally, the general looks at Emma. Petty Officer Frost, do you have anything to add? Emma stands. Yes, sir. Staff Sergeant Cole made a tactical decision under extreme duress, with incomplete information. 4 men were dying. I was buried. He chose to save who he could reach. In his position, with what he knew at the time, many commanders would have made the same call. Cole stares at her like she's speaking a foreign language. However, Emma continues, her voice hardening like ice forming on water. He didn't even try to dig me out, didn't search, didn't confirm I was dead. He made his choice in under 3 minutes because making it slower would have hurt more. That's not tactics, sir. That's cowardice dressed up in command decisions. Cole flinches like she shot him. But, Emma says softer now, he also followed my orders when I came back. Trusted me when he had no reason to. Helped me save people when he could have let his ego get in the way. So yes, he failed. Badly. And yes, he owned it. What you do with that is above my pay grade, sir. I just know that every man on those litters is alive, and that's what matters to me. The general nods slowly. Dismissed, both of you. We'll render our decision within 48 hours. They're almost to the door when the general speaks again. Petty Officer Frost? One more question. Emma turns. Why did you come back? After being abandoned, buried alive, you could have walked away, saved yourself, headed to the extraction point alone, and left them to face the consequences of their choice. Why risk your life for people who left you to die? Emma thinks about her mother, about Catherine Frost teaching her to survive, teaching her to be strong, about the last lesson her mother ever taught her, though neither of them knew it at the time. Strength isn't about never falling. It's about getting up when everyone else stays down. It's about doing what's right even when it costs you everything. Because they needed me, sir, Emma says simply. And because I'm not the kind of person who leaves people behind, even when they leave me. The general studies her for a long moment, then nods once. Dismissed. The decision comes 48 hours later. Staff Sergeant Ryan Cole receives a formal letter of reprimand. It will remain in his service record permanently. His chances of promotion are effectively ended. His career will plateau here. He'll never make Sergeant First Class, never make Master Sergeant. This is as high as he goes. He accepts it without protest, signs the documentation without reading it. He knows what he did, knows what he deserves. The punishment is almost a relief. Petty Officer First Class Emma Frost is promoted to Senior Chief Petty Officer and awarded the Silver Star for conspicuous gallantry under fire. The citation reads, "After being abandoned and buried alive during an avalanche, Senior Chief Frost self-recovered, navigated hostile terrain without equipment or support, located her team under enemy fire, provided life-saving medical care to 4 critically wounded personnel, eliminated 11 enemy combatants while wounded, and single-handedly destroyed an enemy air defense position, enabling successful evacuation of all personnel." Her actions exemplify the highest traditions of military service and the Navy Medical Corps. The ceremony is held 3 weeks later. Full battalion formation, dress uniforms, cameras from military public affairs. This is the kind of story the Army loves. Heroism, sacrifice, against all odds survival. They just don't talk about the part where they left her to die. Emma stands at attention in her dress blues, while a 3-star general pins the Silver Star on her chest. The medal is heavy, solid silver and ribbon. The citation is read aloud. Every word of what she did, every impossible thing she accomplished. The battalion gives her a standing ovation that lasts 2 full minutes. In the crowd, she sees Hayes in his wheelchair, saluting with tears streaming down his face. Sees Diaz and Novak, both on crutches but alive, both saluting. Sees Wright, standing straight and proud in his dress uniform, saluting with perfect form. Sees Ryan Cole in the back row, not saluting because he's not in formation, just watching with eyes that hold nothing but grief and respect and permanent loss. After the ceremony, people congratulate her, shake her hand, thank her for her service. She accepts it all with quiet grace, says thank you, says she was just doing her job, says what they want to hear. Then Cole approaches. The crowd melts away when they see him coming. Everyone knows what happened. Everyone knows what he did. The story is spreading through the military community. The sergeant who left his medic to die, the medic who saved everyone anyway. He stops 3 feet from her, doesn't salute, doesn't extend his hand, just stands there in his dress uniform with his ribbons and his badges and his letter of reprimand sitting in his personnel file like a tombstone. "Senior Chief," he says formally. "Sergeant." Silence. Heavy. Uncomfortable. "I've requested a transfer," Cole says after a moment. "Northern Warfare Training Center. Assistant instructor position. I'll be teaching survival and small unit tactics to new Rangers." "Good fit," Emma says neutrally. "You know the terrain. They told me you're being reassigned there too, as primary instructor for combat medicine and cold weather operations." Emma nods. She already knows this, already accepted the orders. The Army wants her teaching the next generation, wants her passing on the knowledge, wants to make sure what she did becomes doctrine instead of just a story. "I'll be working under your command," Cole continues, "reporting to you, following your orders. And I want you to know I'll never question them, never doubt them, never assume I know better, never make the same mistake again." He pauses. "Because I learned something on that mountain. I learned that the best soldier isn't always the biggest or the strongest or the one with the most time in service. Sometimes it's the quiet one in the back that everyone overlooks, the one nobody takes seriously until it's too late." Emma meets his eyes. "You should have learned that before you left me in the snow." "I know, and I'll spend the rest of my career making sure I never forget it again." He steps back, comes to attention. "Congratulations on the promotion, Senior Chief. You earned it. You earned it more than anyone I've ever known." He walks away. Emma watches him go, feels nothing. No satisfaction, no anger, no vindication. Just a cold, distant acknowledgement that justice was served and life continues. The mountain doesn't care. The cold doesn't care. And neither does she. Not anymore. Someone touches her elbow. A young woman, early 20s, Private first class rank. Small build, nervous eyes. Senior Chief Frost, the woman says. I'm PFC Rachel Chen. I'm assigned to your next training course at NWTC. Emma looks at her, really looks at her, sees herself at that age, small, underestimated, quiet, trying to prove herself in a world that doesn't want to see her. What's your specialty, Private? Combat medic, ma'am. Just graduated from Fort Sam Houston. Rachel's voice trembles slightly. I barely made it through selection. I'm the slowest in my class. Everyone says I don't belong, that I'm too small, too weak, too... Let me stop you there, Emma says quietly. Do you want to be a medic? Yes, ma'am, more than anything. Why? Rachel thinks about it. Because people need help, and I want to be the one who helps them, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Emma studies this young woman, this private who reminds her so much of who she used to be, before the avalanche, before the mountain, before everything changed. She reaches into her pocket and pulls out the challenge coin Hayes gave her, the Ranger coin, the one that represents everything she survived. She places it in Rachel's hand. Strength isn't what they think it is, Emma says. It's not about being the fastest or the biggest or the strongest. It's about being the one who doesn't quit, the one who gets back up, the one who keeps moving forward when everyone else gives up. She meets Rachel's eyes. Can you do that? Rachel looks at the coin, closes her fingers around it. Yes, ma'am, I can. Then you're stronger than you know, and I'll teach you how to survive anything. Emma's voice softens slightly. Because someone taught me, and now it's my turn to pass it on. 6 months later, Emma stands in a classroom at the Northern Warfare Training Center. 30 students sit in front of her. 28 men, 2 women. All of them looking at her like she's just another instructor. They don't know yet, don't know what she survived, don't know what she's capable of, don't know that the quiet woman in the front of the room was buried alive and came back from the dead. They'll learn. Emma picks up a piece of chalk and writes on the board in clear, precise letters. Lesson 1, survival is a choice. She turns to face them. I was left to die on a mountain. My team declared me KIA and walked away. The cold was 40 below. The snow was 10 feet deep. I had no radio, no rifle, no way out. She pauses, lets that sink in. And I made a choice, to dig, to fight, to survive, to find them, to save them anyway. The room is absolutely silent. You could hear a pin drop on carpet. Some of you will fail this course, not because you're not strong enough, not because you're not smart enough, but because you'll give up when it gets hard, when it gets cold, when it hurts, when people tell you that you can't. Emma's voice is steel wrapped in ice. I'm here to teach you that can't is a lie, that impossible is just a word, that the only thing that determines whether you live or die is whether you choose to quit. She looks at Rachel Chen in the front row, at the small woman who reminds her so much of herself. They'll underestimate you. Let them. They'll doubt you. Prove them wrong. They'll tell you you're not good enough. Show them they're blind. Emma's ice blue eyes sweep the room. Because warriors aren't born, they're forged. In fire and ice and pain and loss. And the strongest ones are the ones who had to fight the hardest just to be here. She sets down the chalk. Now get your gear. We have a mountain to climb. The students file out. Rachel Chen is last. She stops at the door. Senior Chief, thank you. Emma nods once. Thank you for showing up, Private. Now go earn your place. Rachel leaves. Emma stands alone in the empty classroom for a moment. Through the window, she can see the Alaska Range stretching away to the north. Frozen peaks under gray sky. Beautiful and brutal and home. Somewhere out there, Ryan Cole is teaching another class. Learning to be better. Learning humility. Learning to see people for who they are instead of who he thinks they should be. Somewhere out there, Diaz and Novak are back on active duty. Hayes is leading his own team. Wright is serving with distinction. All of them alive because Emma Frost refused to stay buried. She thinks about her mother, about Catherine who taught her to be strong, who taught her to survive, who died before she could see what her daughter became. I hope you're proud, Mom. I hope you're watching. I hope you know that everything you taught me mattered, that it saved lives, that it made me into something that refused to break. Emma picks up her gear and walks toward the door, toward the mountain, toward the next mission, toward the next person who needs to learn that survival is always possible if you're willing to fight for it. She was buried alive, left for dead, abandoned by the people she trusted. But she didn't die. She rose. She fought. She saved them anyway. Not because they deserved it, but because that's what heroes do. They rise when others fall. They fight when others flee. They save lives even when those lives didn't value theirs. Emma Frost walks out into the Alaskan cold and lets the door close behind her. The mountain is waiting, and she's not afraid anymore. She never was.